we like to look at the different words. So let's talk about this. Deb, what does balancing mean to you? I said to you that I like the idea of balancing, and that's when you said about rocking on a tightrope.
Yeah, it's like balancing means that to me, means you can see the positive in things, you can see the negative in things, and they don't control you.
Mm,
Balancing means I can see all sides and I can move forward. Like,
yeah,
so I can actually see or even move forward. But even if you can see all sides, if you can see left and right, you're already balancing. You're
yeah,
already moving forward because you're not stuck in that. So balancing just means it's a juggle. It's a
yeah,
juggle, but it's a beautiful juggle. It's
yeah.
not like,
Harmonious. It's a harmonious juggle, right?
yeah.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome, dear Deb.
Hi.
And welcome, welcome. Here we are with another deliciously motivated mindset conversation with Debs. That would be Debs over there, and Moira, that's me. Today we're going to talk about balancing. I love talking about balancing. I don't know why that the balancing just feels like find the fulcrum, find the middle ground.
You ever done tightrope? If you ever walked across a
What?
tightrope, that would be
Mm,
something you could do. You could do that.
you think so?
That's when you
Not
say
so
balance.
sure. Not so sure. Well, thanks for having that faith in me.
When we meet each other again next time in person, let's just throw that
That's
challenge
the challenge, is it?
straight off the ground.
To,
Yeah.
Today we're talking about balancing work and life to reduce overwhelm. But before we get into breaking this apart and talking about tips, we started this last week that before we get into the tips and techniques, I said this last week also that we used to encourage you to get in touch with your PEMS, your physical, your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, the four pillars of you. We really do encourage you to continue using that as a tool. But what we're bringing in now as a wee bit of a different flavor is what I like to think of as heart coherence. And the idea of this is to just allow yourself to really drop into feeling your body, feeling yourself supported by Mother Earth, anchored to Father Sky, if you like, and
Mm,
feeling your heart. And then as you do that, to actually expand it, to connect with all beings on this planet. Just a beautiful, quick piece to connect with the beautiful energies it's actually always there. It's just a nice thing to connect with it. So
mm.
wherever you are, I encourage you to just feel your feet where they are. Feel yourself supported by whatever you're resting on, sitting on. Allow yourself to land in this moment and take a really nice deep breath. Maybe even put your hands on your heart. And if you can, gently closing your eyes. Don't do that if you're driving. Nice deep breath right into your belly and then breathe out. Okay. Excuse me, that brought frog up in my throat.
It's
Now,
beautiful.
this time, I want you to breathe, but intend that you're breathing into your heart space. Still feeling that breath in your belly and breathe out. Feel your connection to the universe, feeling that energy surrounding you. resting into it. Breathe in and breathe out. And we'll do one more breath together. And with this one, we intend that our heart energy is expanding out and encircling the planet and all beings. So breathe in, part of a beautiful matrix of energy, and breathe out. And just notice what that feels like. And if your eyes were closed, you can gently open them, because it's time for us to start looking at these ideas around balancing work and life to reduce overwhelm. So we encourage you to grab a note-taking device, because we're going to roll our sleeves up now and start looking at balancing work and life. Yeah. So we like to look at the different words. So let's talk about this. Deb, what does balancing mean to you? I said to you, I like the idea of balancing. And that's when you said about rocking on a tightrope.
Yeah, it's like balancing means that to me, means you can see the positive in things, and you can see the negative in things, and they don't control you. Balancing means I can see all sides and I can move forward. So I can actually see or even move forward. But even if you can see all sides, if you can see left and right, you're already balancing. You're already moving forward because you're not stuck in that. So balancing just means it's a juggle. It's a juggle, but it's a beautiful juggle. It's not like
harmonious. It's a harmonious juggle, right?
Yeah. So I'm not worried about the balls in the air and they're going to fall down, or the balloons, 20 gazillion balloons. I'm just going to take one at a time, and I can see the beauty. That's what it means. What does it mean to you, balancing?
I like that. I think balancing does, and I like what, if you could see Deb, she was doing the balancing both balls and keeping them equal.
We are not doing video, people, but yeah, I did. Well, actually, I don't know if you'd. This Deborah on video is probably not the best anyway.
To me, balancing is that acknowledging what the right rhythm, the right harmony between being and doing. I often talk about this, the being and doing, because I think we are conditioned to overemphasize the doing side, and we forget, and that's how come we have, fried nervous systems and chaos and stress and burnout and exhaustion and chronic pain and things of that nature. It's because the balancing of the being and doing is out of whack. And it's actually also very unique to each one of us. What's the balance of being and doing for you is going to be different to me, right?
Well, I was just thinking the being and doing is your feminine and your masculine.
That's right.
Too.
That's right.
So even though I'm a feminine person with lady bits, my voice is a masculine voice. But then it can also go to a feminine voice in moments which is necessary for me. So just clearly not on this podcast. So that's a balancing act. It's a balancing that seeing all sides of yourself as well.
Absolutely, because regardless of what gender you are, we all have masculine and feminine in us. And that's why I'm saying it's very, very important, because similar to you, I have a lot of masculine in me, because I am a A-type personality. I do things, I get things done, I push through and take care of things. And so that's been part of my own healing journey, is to soften into the, okay, I need the being.
Own the feminine ones.
Yeah. That's so yes, you're right. I agree with you. The being and doing is just another way of saying them, bringing the masculine and feminine into balance within you also. It's essential. This is an essential piece. And so now if we start looking at that, bringing that into work and life. So at work, you want to have your masculine and feminine in balance. And in your own personal life, you want to have it in balance too. So it's not to have that work is only the doing. I'm always doing, and then I'll do the being part in my personal life. That doesn't work.
You get
Sorry, not sorry.
Well, if you want to reduce overwhelm, it's not going to work.
That's right. And oftentimes I think that there's been patterns or way belief systems set up around that, you know, I can push through and take on all of these projects and goals and I'll you know I'll rest when I get home. I rest
Mm,
when the job's done.
yeah.
That, and to your point, overwhelm's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bonk you on the head.
Yeah, immobilize you, just going to wipe you out to a bigger degree.
Yep.
Yeah. What would you sum up overwhelm being?
Well, you know, overwhelm to me is discombobulation.
Overwhelmed. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, overwhelm is where you know how you said at the beginning you were talking about balancing is when you can see the negative and the positive, and but you can still stay neutral and keep going. That's harmonious balance, right? Overwhelm is you can only see the negative and you think
Yeah.
that's all that's there and you have no idea. It's like the refusal to recognize, not refusal, that's not the right word. It's maybe the inability to recognize this is one end of a spectrum. And I
Yeah.
can maybe, you know, take a bigger picture view or take a step back to actually recalibrate or do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, see, overwhelm. Yeah, when you were saying that, I was thinking overwhelm is there is no bloody solution.
Yeah,
I can't see if there's a left or right here.
yeah,
I'm left with that overwhelm. Well, I didn't even know self-soothing kit. You can shove that up your jacksie. I didn't even know where I put that. Glitter bomb. I'll show you a glitter bomb. Like all of those things, or even not even thinking.
yeah.
Like can't make a decision, or everything's too much. Overwhelm is
Paralysis.
yeah.
Paralysis. Yeah.
Yeah, all the balls in the air falling on you, so you're actually buried, type
Yeah.
thing. But there's different levels of overwhelm, you know, and everybody knows we talk about our PEMs.
Mhm.
That overwhelm is, you know, can be when you're beyond a 10, can be when you're
Yeah.
an 8.
Yeah.
It can also be when you're a 2, because you're feeling centered and poised, but you know that your mother-in-law's coming over,
Mm,
or you're feeling centered and poised, and you know you've got to go pick the kids up, and because you chose to take 2 more minutes at home, you're now not going to get a car park. You know,
right.
all those little things, and so that can take you to that
Into
overwhelm.
overwhelm. Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a 10 discombobulated relating to your PEMS, but overwhelm can be anything that pretty much is that freeze state. I can't think clearly, I can't see clearly, I can't hear anything. And your head just jumps into
Crazy making thinking. Crazy
yeah,
making
victim.
thinking.
Why
Yeah.
can't I think like this? I'm really quick on my thoughts, you know, that
Mhm.
which takes you right out of center,
Yeah. Yeah.
sums it up.
It does
Does
sum
that some yeah, so I know what I'm talking about, but listeners, you know what we're talking about?
it up.
It
Well,
feels like
I think of myself, I'm thinking of a time with this overwhelm. And I said that to you about the um being very strong on the masculine aspect was that you know I actually was also very strong on the people pleaser aspect of me also. Not a good combination.
yep, yep.
But the overwhelm would show up because I would push and push and push and push and say yes and do. This is when I worked in the corporate world. You know, I used to work like 80-hour work weeks just because it was like, yeah, I can do this and I can do this. And you know, in hindsight, this is something else that I think is a really important tip about reducing overwhelm is that just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it, right?
I've
Because
just written amazing tip to go and coincide with what you're saying now.
okay, good. But for me, like I hit a complete and utter burnout. Actually, I've had
Yeah,
3 burnouts in my adult life. But that first one was the harshest one, and I wouldn't own it. I was
yeah,
because I'm doing all this stuff for all these other people. And so that's why I said earlier also that it's not okay to say work is where I do all the masculine and the doing, and my personal life is where I do the relaxation and the filling my cup, because it cannot work that way. So my life lesson was to find that masculine, feminine balance in my work life, in my professional life.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's finding that balance for you that day. But one of the things that I was just thinking when you were saying that was, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's because, and I'm going to reference this, when you burn yourself out, you're just saying 80 hours, like, that's freaking horrific, but we do it. I go back to my times when I worked for someone else, and
Mhm.
you do that. When I think about this, the moment you've gone, they've put a temp in the next day, often.
Yeah.
Whether where you have an accident or you pass or something, you're replaced that quickly. They may not do it to your liking until they get up to speed, but that's how quick you're replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And balancing that work and life, you don't think you're replaceable. You bloomin' are. You're
Absolutely.
absolutely replaceable. You are replaceable. So when I think about this, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone at all, anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just made a wee note of something because after the fact, that there's such an important piece here is
Mm.
that finding that I have to do this because this person said I have to, and making a big story up about it.
No.
So one of the things I like to say is, who made you that important? To
Yeah.
your point, it's to your point. Who made you
Yeah.
that important to think, oh my God, if I don't do this, this job's not going to get done, or people are going to do this, or things of that nature, right?
Yeah, well, we do pump our own significance up in some areas, and then we do deflate ourselves in others. But I think, yeah, who made you that important? That's a harsh knock. Thank you, Moira. Me,
I
I
know,
did. I
I
did.
know.
But it's a beautiful one that actually and sometimes you need that knock to knock you out of balance, to pivot us back, to this. But I think, for me, when I think about the balancing work and life to reduce the overwhelm, when you're inspired, when you have an inspired vision and mission, um, when you have that inspired vision and mission, you don't need to balance work and life.
Very true.
Because when you have a purpose and it feels like you're in, and things are moving and the seas part for you, you don't have to balance anything because you're on that inspired vision and mission. And
Mhm.
you're not going, oh, I need to listen to that person, I need to do that. You just are in such flow. So here's your one tip, and then we can end the podcast. Find your inspired vision and mission and stay on track. Done. No, but does that make sense to you?
100%,
Yeah.
because that's actually acknowledging that you're not a dual person. Well, you actually are a dual person, but
Yeah.
but you're how you are in one aspect of your life is how you are in the other. And so by
Yeah.
having that inspired action, then that's the way to find
Mm.
it's actually that's a big piece around finding your why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It is. And what is that inspired vision? Well, there's a whole new podcast. In fact, that's got to be a series of podcasts. If that's what you want to, like, I'm just going to say, if you like that idea, throw it in the chat.
Yeah.
Let us know, because we can jump on a three podcast series to show you that. Yeah, show
Finding your
you that.
why, finding your divine purpose, finding your calling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm just typing some notes here. Being inspired, they say time flies when you're having fun. But if you go back to those times when you are discombobulated, you're actually not having fun. You're not connecting with yourself. You're not connecting with other people. There's obligation coming in. There's already an ickiness going on.
Yep. There is, and there's a lack of balance, because we can actually sail through phases of discombobulation if
Yep.
we recalibrate to our inspired action, if we remember this is just a passing phase, this too shall pass, right?
Mm.
I've got this.
It is that. It's reminding those things. We've been through situations before. We can survive in those situations. It may look different. It may feel different because who we are now, who you were at the start of this podcast, is not who you are now. You're a different person just with one piece of information that's filtered in through your senses that you can go, I get it. I know what that means. I know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been willing to show up and feel into it, right?
Yeah.
To say, yeah, I got this.
And I think the key there, you said feel in, my finger comes out, I'm leaning forward.
Yeah.
Feel into it.
Feel into it.
Feel it in your body, because your body will tell you if this feels right or not.
100%. That actually is a beautiful tip to put in here that I've talked about before in previous episodes, is to, what does a yes feel like in your body? For myself, a yes feels like uplifting. My shoulders come up. I feel a sense of lift, I feel a, oh yeah, that's, even if my head's saying, oh my God, what about this and what about this and what about,
What about
but
this?
yeah, but my yes is like this little spurt of sparkle energy, whereas a no feels heavy. It feels
Yeah.
like maybe a pit in my stomach, or a little bit, my shoulders are kind of sagging down. So once you know,
you have a beautiful tool. Your body's a pendulum. You've got
yeah, yeah,
it's a great one I've shared with some of my clients, showing them that. It's just a reminding of how powerful your body is.
absolutely. It's like fire your thinking mind, allow your body to inform you, is this good for me?
Yeah.
And this tool that Deb's talking about, listeners, is that if you stand, and actually standing with your bare feet or your sock feet is the best, and just sort of stand nice and straight, and your body will sway forward slightly for a yes and sway backward slightly for a no. And a way to calibrate it and find how that feels like, you can practice it by, like I said, sock feet or bare feet, and practice it by saying out loud or in your mind things that you already know to be true, and feel into what your body
But when we say,
does.
can I just say things you know to be true, don't go, I'm a fat person. Okay, what
Oh
I'm
gosh,
talking
no. I usually tell
because
them to tell people to say your name.
that's yes. But also, even so, I have to giggle because someone said to me, oh, like I'm a fat person. I'm like, no.
No, gosh.
So when you say that, I just go, no, why would you even say that? But yes, my name is Moira.
No,
If that's what you're called and that's your birth certificate, but don't go, my name's Annabelle, when your name is Moira. Okay, just
so
so
I have a fun example of this one, because I've been teaching people this body pendulum for many years, and my usual way of doing it back in the days when I saw people in person is, so I get them to stand up, and I'd get them to say their name. So I remember this guy. It was a guy, and I'm just going to say, I can't remember his name. So, but let's just say his name was George. So I get him up and I say to him to say out loud, my name is George. So he says, my name is George, and he swayed backwards, which is a no. And I'm like, but your name is George. And he starts to laugh. His birth name was Benjamin George.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so then I was like, okay. So then now my name is Benjamin, and he goes forward. Right? But that is such a beautiful illustration of your body knows the absolute truth, not just the story, right?
I love that. I'm going to use that story because I can relate to that. You can just imagine going, hang on, why is it going backwards?
Yeah.
Oh no, my birth name, and I get called as this, and I was like, okay, right. Yeah.
And so that's what I'll do. Usually I will do, like, so I would say, my name is Moira. And of course I sway forward. And then if I say my name is George, I'm going to sway backward. So that's why I'm saying, and once you get that sense, then you can use it on things that you really don't think you know the answer.
So when Moira showed me this, I tried to lie.
Of course you did.
I know some of you were like, really? And I was like, yeah, I did. I tried to lie and I tried to do it. And as much as I tried to force myself to go forward or back, I could not force myself to do the lie. I got myself so discombobulated. I definitely was in overwhelm trying to go, okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to myself. Like I talk to myself, I'm going to say my name is this and it's not going to be that. And I'm going to try and force myself to go, yes. Like I tried it.
Right.
You can't do it, people.
Yeah.
Cut the bullshit. Cut the story. Just trust this exercise works. I don't try it anymore. It works.
Play with
there
it.
you go.
Play with it and let us know. But
Yeah.
but here's the thing. That what you just described, that trying to force it, or that sounds like overwhelm to me.
I was just going to say that's overwhelm.
That's overwhelm.
So maybe the other thing is balancing work and life to reduce overwhelm. Don't force. I was going to say,
Yeah. Don't force the outcome. Don't force the outcome. Yeah.
because we know when you try and force an outcome, it's a discombobulated and capitals with overwhelm and yeah. But I think just from that. But going back to the one Moira said, test it. Just test it. Just go. We'll give it a go.
Yeah,
And that's,
testing it like that actually helps you build trust in it. Right?
yeah. Yeah.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Well, that's what I did, and it didn't work. And so, yeah.
But that
So-
probably, even with your experience, that probably helped you trust it even more.
Totally, because curiosity does get to me. I know when I did, I learned the quantum neutrality process with Sandra and Daniel Biskind. I was like, this can't be true. And Sandra's like, oh, I know there's always one. It has to be Deborah. And she was like, okay, Deborah. And it was. And the more I tried to force that stuff to prove a point wrong, Deborah, I'm arguing with somebody who's got 50 years individually just with her knowledge. And I'm still arguing and telling her that's wrong. Because, I was curious. So I tested it and I tried to do it my way. And it just like, okay, now I just don't even question it. And I have to giggle when people go, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. All the tips and the techniques and the strategies Moira and I give you are not things we've read from the internet.
No.
Well, they are, some of them. But they're actually stuff that we ourselves have implemented in our lives. So we may have read it and then gone, oh, that's a great idea. We implement that in our life. It works for us. We give you solid information that we have a story behind every single
100%. 100%. And because neither of us are hypocritical in that we just say, oh, all you have to do is go off and do this. There's a fair bit of that out there, right? But we are so not wired that way. Neither of us. We have both different approaches to teaching techniques and ideas, but we've lived through everything that we share, right?
That's right. And even though I trust Moira to the highest degree, when she told me the body pendulum, I still wanted to test it out to go, could be just a little bit too left for me or too, like, I'm like, we'll give this a go. But I tried it. And I mean, when Moira says does something, I pretty much go done. But I wanted to try it and feel it myself. So even though we deliver this, try and feel them. Try and feel it out. And if it doesn't work for you, park it to the side, come back to it another time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But this actually,
don't prove yourself to anyone. It goes back to that tip, doesn't it?
It does. It does. But here's the other thing too. I like that you just brought that into this conversation, Deb, because this is something that I've often said to my clients is that if I teach you a technique or an idea, I encourage you to try it exactly as I tell you. But at the end of it, pause and see, does it resonate? So here's a story that I have a client. I often use EFT tapping. And that's something that I've done with you too, is use emotion freedom technique
And
tapping.
I've given her clients too to go, nah, talk
Yeah.
to Moira.
Yeah. So
Got some.
I
Yeah.
have a format, I have a way of teaching that, and there's it's what you're doing is you're tapping on different acupressure points around your face and your body, and you're saying different things. So I have a client who does not resonate whatsoever with that tapping on her forehead and her under her eyes. And so,
Oh, wow.
but she came to that because actually I've had a few over the years that just like, no, not doing that. So but they get that. So that realization is informed by the fact that they've tried it. They've tried it. And then I have actually been able to, on 2 occasions, completely rescript how it works to suit that person. So this one
Oh,
client, and I'm still working with her. So what she does is she just does the tapping on her fingertips. It works brilliantly for her. She's still doing the statements, but you see, because there is no one size fits all, you only know what works for you by stepping in and trying out a technique, right?
yeah. I think that is just even that one size doesn't fit all
Mm-hmm.
is a tip on its own.
Yeah.
What you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're looking at the balancing work and life, and some days people say hide away, some days people say take a mental health day, some days people say no. Like today, saying no to somebody doesn't work
Right.
in your mind, so that's okay. There's another one. So there's different tools that you can use for different things. You don't just have to go every day I'm going to pray, every day I'm going to put my hand on my heart, every day. Like there's going to be moments when that's not going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And every day there's going to be a resolution to that. So I love that one size doesn't fit all.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important too that you, like you're saying about the every day, if you set it up that every day I'm going to do such and such, that right there to me leaves a wee level of an edge of overwhelm potentiality, because there's going to be some days where you forget, you don't have time.
How's your mindset going to go on that one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a bad person. I didn't write in my gratitude journal. I'm such a bad person.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, I didn't write yesterday, so I don't have to do today. And then 4 days later, you're like, oh my God, there's no point in starting. I'm 4 days behind.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Or this day is completely out of whack because I didn't do my journaling at the beginning of the day, so give up and go back to bed.
I'm gonna have a cranky day. I know.
Yeah.
And so look at you. You know, we talk about you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. What are those expectations you're putting on yourself? If you're balancing work and life to reduce overwhelm, what are those expectations you're putting on yourself? Because those expectations are movable, shiftable, filled with glitter. Like what are they? Take the time and reflect on what they are.
So this is a beautiful point to bring in the 4 agreements. We haven't talked about the 4 agreements for a while.
Probably 6 months, I think. Feels like it.
But it was you saying watch the expectations you have on yourself. So the 4 agreements, just a really quick recap. The first one is to be impeccable with your word. And so that actually addresses expectations. Be impeccable with those expectations, right?
We could just sign up to any of our podcasts and just do the 4 agreements. Just
Absolutely.
say the
100%. The next one is to not take anything personally. It's not about you. The next one is to not make assumptions. Just because you've missed something, one of these things, every day I'm going to do such and such, and then just because you miss it, don't assume that that's going to derail your entire day. But the main one that I wanted to bring into this conversation about that being mindful of your own expectations, you of you, is always do your best. That's agreement number 4. Always do your best means on a day where you've eaten well, you've had great sleep, you have a nice buffer in your schedule, your best is going to be at a stellar level. Whereas the next day, let's say maybe you have a bit too much on your plate, or you haven't eaten properly, or you haven't moved, you haven't had your gratitude time, then your best is going to be at a lower level. And that's okay, because that's your best that day.
That's your best 2 day.
Yes.
But also knowing 2 days is 24 hours. So you don't have to sit in that situation for full 24 hours. You can pivot at any time. You can 2 hours and you can go, okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do this. You don't have to wait till tomorrow's another day. This whole tomorrow's another day. Guess what? There's another second go by. You're already a different person. I think that's they're beautiful. I love the 4 agreements.
Me too.
Just had to pull out my 4 agreement cards. So I was like, I'm going to remember those. Why have I not got them? I used to have them on my board. Yeah, I think the four agreements can just sum up so much in
everyday life, work and life. And it does, the 4 agreements, they're simple statements, but they are beautiful anchors to create balance and ease and flow, right?
Well, I think that goes back to that. Don't judge yourself on yesterday's performance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going to balance work and life to reduce overwhelm, don't judge yourself on how you performed yesterday.
Yeah.
Because
you just acknowledge I did the best I could with what was going on yesterday.
Then you're jumping back into the past, and you don't get resolution from the past. You get resolution from moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and sometimes that moving forward is going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny baby step. And that's really important to be okay with that too, because we all do quantum leaps from time to time, and sometimes it's just nope, just for today, it's this tiny, tiny, tiny incremental step.
And that tiny, tiny, tiny step is so powerful.
Yes.
Like, it's not what you think is tiny. Let's say this. What you think is tiny is not tiny at all, if I can say that. But it's not small at all. Like, I'm just taking a small step. No, it's a significant step.
Exactly.
I'm not even taking a step forward. That's significant too. That's pausing and reflecting.
But that's to your point about the judging yourself. Because if I'm taking this small step, no, it's not big enough, and other people are making bigger steps than me, and what's wrong with me? That's you judging yourself.
Well, people and also, people in business. I know when I first started my business, people are like, oh, you're not going to make any money in the first 3 years. I was like, what? What's the point in getting into business? I don't want to work for 3 years to go into the red. As soon as someone started saying that stuff to me, I was like, what? You can't make any money in 3 years? That's ridiculous. Who says that?
That's funny.
That's that. Yeah. Did you ever get that? You're not going to make any money in 3 years in your business. Well, I did. I made more money in my first year than I didn't until people said to me, you're not going to make money. And I was like, oh, and then I could see the whole pattern. My money dried up because I started listening to other people's stories.
So important. So important not to do that. And so that goes back to that whole piece that I've said to you before about being mindful and wary of who you listen to and who you tell your goals and your dreams and your intentions to. Because if you're solidly on, because I'm the type of person, if somebody starts saying to me, oh, this is how it's going to go, I'll put my hands on my hips and say, I'll show you.
Oh, sure.
I'll show you that is not the truth.
Moira with her hands on the hips isn't a pretty sight, because when she gets to that rising of the phoenix, just step aside,
watch
people.
Out. Yeah, watch out.
Yeah, you'll be a lot easier just to step aside and just, let her do her journey. You don't have to be part of that. Just be a voyeur on her journey. It's a lot freaking easier.
But it's so important not to get carried off by other people's opinions. Such an important piece in all of this, because that does create overwhelm.
That totally does. I can't believe what is this happening? Our time's up. Our time's up. So we're going to recap this as quick as we can. And just going to recap as quick as we can, because
yes, it's that time already.
Yeah, it is. It is, totally is. So let's sum up what we got. Grab your note-taking device. Here we were. We actually unpacked the word balancing to start with. I didn't think we even unpacked overwhelm. Maybe we did.
Yeah, we did.
I can't remember. We unpacked what balancing means. So what did you, what Sum that up, Moira.
So my balancing for me was the harmonious flow, but I liked what you had said about you can see the positive and the negative, but you still keep going. You're not getting it's like it's two ends of the spectrum, and you're saying, yep, there's the yin and yang, the black and
Yeah.
white, but I'm still in flow. It's that
I'm
flow
still
piece.
Kibra. I'm still Moira. I'm
Yeah.
still good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the balancing, like because we actually also talked about the being and doing, the masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
That it's when we are, regardless of what gender we are, we all have the masculine and feminine within us. Balancing means we are aware of the attributes of the masculine being the doer and the feminine being the being aspect. But in order to reduce overwhelm, we have to have that balance in both work life and personal life, right?
I was just going to say, and both are essential to moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
Moving forward
definitely.
as balancing your work and life, reducing your own functioning in this world. Gosh, we could go down a whole tangent. And summing up, overwhelm, just combine out of a 10, on a 10 when you're beyond 10.
Beyond 10 on your PEMS. But it's also, I had said that I felt like it was when you're stuck on the negative, and you gave a number of different examples of that you're paralyzed. You're like, there's no solution. There's no way through this.
I can't even turn left or right. You're in a cloud, but that cloud is so dark and black.
Yeah.
That you can't even go, where's the light switch to turn on?
Yeah.
Like you're like that. Yeah.
Total discombobulation.
Yes. I don't know if these tips are in order, but one of the things I said, the one key tip for balancing that work and life to reduce that overwhelm is when you have an inspired vision and purpose and mission.
What you said there.
You're inspired and in flow, you're not in overwhelm and you're not having to balance anything because you have an inspired purpose that you're working on, that you can see the left and the right, you can see the highs and lows, and you know exactly where you're going. You know what strategies are going to come up, how you're going to resolve them. You're in flow. And I sort of say the waters part. When you have that inspired vision and purpose, there is no overwhelm. You do not need to balance. You just live in the present.
You are in balance. That's what provides the balance, right? Is the inspired part. The other one, and you actually brought this in prior to this one, was you said you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
Yes.
Right. So it's about it's you.
I think that's really
authentically you, and just embrace your quirks and your uniqueness, and have fun with doing that. Your talents, sharing it, right?
And that was because you said, and I know what you said you were working 80-hour days, 80-hour weeks. I've just been touring. I've just come back for the last 2 months, I've toured so much that I've probably had the smallest amount of sleep in these 2 months than I have all year. Right. Like, if I added it up, these 2 months have been horrifically no sleep. But if I stepped away, someone would step into my role very quickly, just like that. So you don't have to prove yourself. So it's like you're burning the bridges to prove a point or something. It's just that you don't have to. You're easily replaceable. They may not do it your way or anything, but there's a different way to everything anyway. Yeah. Because we're all wired differently. So you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
Yep. Even yourself, by the way. You don't have to prove yourself to yourself. I've got this. I am good. I rock.
Damn. Yeah, that's it. One of the tips we have here is where you can feel it in the body. You can feel it in your body.
What does yes and no feel like in your body?
That's right. And one of the things Moira talked about was having the pendulum in your body that actually tells you if you're on track or if you're not, or is this right, is this wrong? Your body doesn't lie to you. Even though Deborah's tried to test my body to lie to me, I'm just going to say, You want to do a Deborah, go for it to prove your point. Don't just listen to me. But I tried it didn't work. I tried it another day. Like I did it a few times.
But that's what made me laugh about Deb sharing that, because this actually made her trust it even more.
Totally. And there's no going, like, that's it. There's no going back. So
Yep.
there is a way to feel that in your body, and just know that you are on track. And it's a shortcut.
Yep.
It's a shortcut to stop having to think,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a beautiful piece.
Yeah.
That one brought up the tip that I wrote here, was to don't force the outcome. Just release attachment to it. Because that's what made me think that when you were saying, I'll show you, I can make this happen this way. And like, nope, you're trying to fight against the wisdom of your own body. It doesn't work. In fact, causes more overwhelm. Right?
Well, it did. I became more, my ego kept tapping in. But which I wrote down here, test into trust.
Yeah.
Just those 3 words.
Try it out.
I did test it, move to trust, just like what Moira said, but the test into trust. It's like, okay, and then I don't question it now.
Yeah.
I literally don't question it at all. I don't think about it, but yeah, I do have a story attached to it. Yeah, I was like, no, I don't know about this. I don't know. We'll give it a go. Give it a go. And I did it in my group as well, and it worked for everyone. I was like, damn, that's quite funny. But of course, it's like another confirmation. Yeah.
But of course. But I love what you said there, because that was my tip there too, was try it, absolutely. Challenge it if you need to. But always remember, there is no one size fits all. So your way of doing body pendulum may actually end up being tweaked or shifted. There is a system here that this is based on kinesiology. And so it's always going to work. But, you know, some people's sway is a lot more subtle than others. So it's like, tap into it and find yours, right?
I love that one size doesn't fit all. That's everything. It's not just your clothes sizes.
Yes.
The next tip I have with balancing work and life to reduce that overwhelm is, what are those expectations you have on yourself and that you're putting on others as well? Because if you're putting expectations on others, that's going to take you from a 0 to 10 quicker than obviously yourself, I would probably say, because technology's not working. Why is the traffic lights going like this? Why are the kids not getting in the car? They knew they needed 2 pairs of shoes. I just think about all the stories that I hear and I laugh, and I'm like, okay, get your systems in place. But what expectation are you putting on others, but also yourself? What does that look like? Which Moira brought in.
4 agreements.
4 agreements.
4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And acknowledge that you're doing your best. I think that's another part of that one. It's really important to acknowledge that piece, right?
That made me write down another tip to end on.
Aha.
Surprise. We know what one that is. The one I've written down here, don't judge yourself on your actions, which is going back to always doing your best as well.
Yeah.
And because we do things that aren't great for others or ourselves, sometimes we do them. So just don't judge yourself on that actions. And it is reminding yourself, always do your best. I go back to the way I brought my daughter up, I think about that and I think, no wonder my mum would roll her eyes. She'd go, you can't feed her rice with OXO cube. You can't do that like for 7 days. I'm like, I can. She's like, you need vegetables. So I'd throw in like a handful of peas. Look, she's got some green stuff. My mum would be mortified. But I was doing the best with what I had at that time.
Yep.
I was doing the best with what I had at that time. And I think that's the reminder to yourself. Yeah.
Well, my dear, that's all the tips I had. Did you say you had one more?
I do have 2.
Oh.
I've got here, be mindful of your goals and dreams. That was you who said that.
Oh, that's right. I was saying be mindful of who you tell them to. Because and that was in reaction to what you were saying about people saying to you, oh, in your first 2 years of business, you're never going to make money or you make a loss. Or so that was a reminder to be mindful of who you're sharing your ideas, your dreams, your intentions, because when people say, oh, it's always going to be like this, that's when I said to you, I put my hands on my hips and said, I'll show you.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
But not everybody's wired the way I am.
I love that because I'm going to bring in Debz and Moira again. We are here to serve you, to help you to be the best you can be. And I had to giggle because I wrote mindful of, and then there was a gap, and then I went goals and dreams. So right there, I was like, oh, I wonder what that was. But mindful of what? Goals and dreams. That's all I wrote down. So I'm like, Moira will pick it up.
Yep.
She's my butt. She'll know
I did.
exactly.
I did.
So we complement each other.
We
I have
do.
a memory block. Moira fills it in. But I love that. And that's it. Be mindful of who you share your goals and dreams with. Moira and I are here. We are here generally to help you do the best with what you've got right here, right now. But yeah,
And reduce any overwhelm, of course, too.
Definitely. Because I did have a little bit of overwhelm going, oh, I've missed a word. Don't worry. Don't judge yourself on your actions as the one I had before then. Moira will pick it up. So, of course. And the very last one I'm going to say is celebrate life. Celebrate what you have. Celebrate what you don't have. Celebrate about living in the present. Celebrate, because when you're balancing your work and life to reduce that overwhelm, the universe has shown you something that requires actioning. It is up to you to action it. So celebrate that opportunity that you have, because some people don't see those moments that they can celebrate. So celebrate that while you're here.
I love that. Celebrate that and be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful. So that's our one today. That's our deliciously motivated mindset conversation about how to balance work and life to reduce your overwhelm. So before I wrap up, I'm just going to say, I want everyone to take a moment. If you're driving, don't do this. Just think with your eyes open. But if you can shut your eyes and just take a moment and reflect about how you were at the start of this call, how you were during this call, and how you're feeling afterwards. And asking yourself, how does this information make me feel about me? What is that beautiful one tip or two tips that I'm going to take in, that I'm going to share with someone, that I'm going to implement through my day, whatever that is, and reminding yourself that when you have your hand on your heart, that that's where you live. Make those decisions there instead of in the crazy making overwhelm brain, because those decisions just fall down around you.
Yes. And you deserve your own kindness in this regard.
Absolutely. So if you like this today, I would love you to drop in the comments what one you loved, what tip you really loved about it, and invite somebody into the conversation, have this conversation with them, invite them in to listen to the podcast and open this conversation up with them about balancing work and life to reduce overwhelm. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, internet. Thank you, technology. Thank you, everybody. You're valued. You're here for a purpose. Let's send you on your way. Thank you, Moira.
Thank you, dear Deb.
Being wrapped up cold today while I'm in summer.
Yeah. Thank you, dear Deb. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, internet. This has been very good for us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll catch you next time. Bye.